I'm here to review The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 14, entitled Spend. One of the scenes that caught my attention in this episode was the scene with Noah and Reg talking to each other in the beginning of the episode when the episode first started. Now, I'm not sure if some of y'all caught this, but I did because they was paying homage to Beth. Remember when Reg gives Noah the notebook and he says, from now on, this is a new start, this is a new beginning, and I want you to take notes of everything you go through and everything that happened to you, and you write this stuff down in this notebook. And you notice how Noah takes the notebook and write a new beginning on the first page that's in the notebook. Now, if you remember in season 4, Beth started writing everything down that happened to her and everything she went through in season 4 in a notebook. Notice how Noah gets a notebook himself and he wants to write down everything now because like Red said, it's time to change. It's a new beginning. So write down everything you want to. And when Noah was talking to him about being an architect, that's what he was telling him to do. And like I said that pays homage to Beth a little bit with the notebook because she used to write everything down in the notebook in season 4 that we got to see. Another thing that I noticed in this episode, when we first see the beginning of this episode, we see Daryl leaving the Alexandria safe zone. And we see behind him is Aaron. So Daryl is the one trailing Aaron now, and Aaron is following Daryl. That's how the format is. Now, if you remember from season 4, the format is similar to the format that they had in season 4 when Daryl was a recruiter in season 4. Because when Daryl first met Bob was in the middle of the road. Daryl was the one trailing on his motorcycle his old motorcycle, and Glenn was right behind Daryl. Glenn was in the truck. So you notice the formats are similar, or the formats are the same. Daryl is always the one being a recruiter, but he's always the one on the motorcycle that's trailing the car that's behind him. The car is following his lead. So it's similar. You see, like in season 4, Daryl was the one trailing and Glenn used to follow him in the truck. Now in season 5, Daryl is the one trailing again, except it's not Glenn who's following him to help recruit people. It's Aaron that's behind him in a car now. So the formats are similar. Now let's talk about the opening scene for this episode with Father Gabriel in it. I'm not sure if anybody noticed this scene or noticed anything that happened in this scene, but this scene was the cause of Father Gabriel telling on Rick and his group, calling them angels in disguise, but they're really devils. So let me explain this scene to you a little bit. When we first see Father Gabriel, we see him with a clear sheet of paper. I could be wrong. It couldn't have been no clear sheet of paper, but that piece of clear sheet of paper that he had in his hand, I'm assuming that he was using that for a bookmark because we see him put that piece of paper on top of a Bible page. So I'm assuming he was using that for a bookmark to keep track on his reading and to let him know which page he started off on and which page he started on, if that sounds correct. But notice, when he's looking at that Bible, he sees strawberries. And on those strawberries, it has a note attached. That note says, I can't remember exactly what the note says, but the person who gave him the strawberries, the woman name is Rose Mary. Listen to what I'm about to say. Her name is Rose Mary. As soon as he saw that name, he started freaking out. Because remember in season 4, when he wanted to know the truth about was Garrett and his people really cannibals or was Garrett and his people really dangerous, remember, he sneaks out the church and he decides to go to the preschool. And once he gets to the preschool, he sees Bob's leg has been cooked and it has maggots on it. Now, once he sees Bob's leg, he freaks out. But notice, he goes into one of Garrett's people backpack or Garrett backpack and he pulls out a Bible. Now, In that Bible, it has Garrett's mother's name in that Bible. That was her Bible. And Garrett's mother's name is Mary. Mary B. The B was for the last initials of her last name. Now, notice when he see her name in that Bible and he start looking through that Bible, he freaks out and he drops the Bible. But at the same time, he sees Bob's leg has been cooked and they was going to eat his leg. So let's just call Bob's leg food in that scene. Now go back to what I just said about him in the beginning of this episode. The scenes are similar. It brings back nightmares to him because once he opened up that Bible and he sees those strawberries and it says Rosemary, the first thing pops in his head is Garrett's mother's name, Mary, because remember, her name was Mary and her name was in the Bible. Now, this woman who gives him the strawberry, her name is Rosemary. Take the rose off and just leave it in his Mary. So he starts to freak out at that moment because he's like, what? Oh my God, her name is Mary. And the Bible was by a guy's leg that they was going to eat. Now we have a woman named Rosemary who left me something to eat. And I'm reading the Bible right next to some fruits that a woman, Rosemary, left me. So the scenes are similar. He got freaks out because it brings back memories of when he found Bob's leg and he found that Bible by Bob's leg that has Mary in it. And now he has fruits that has the name Mary in it, and he also has the Bible right next to him. Again, so everything comes back into fruition again. He starts to freak out. And he starts to remember what Rick and their group done to Garrett, and now he decides to become a snitch. Next, let's talk about the Abraham scene, because this scene was a redemption scene. I'm not sure if y'all caught that, but this was definitely a redemption scene in him overcoming or overwhelming those odds that was against him, but at the same time, him finally dealing with the death of his family. And by him saving Francine, it was like him resaving his family again. And Francine was that symbolic meaning or that symbolic icon. I would like to call her his wife. And he was able to save that woman. And by him saving her, it was redemption again. He forgave himself. And he also forgave his past about him about thinking about what he did or thinking about his family and stuff. And he forgave himself in that scene. And I love when the zombies was coming towards him. He decided to help our Francine, but once Abraham started getting into that mood, and I love it, he started smiling. And the other construction workers, they was looking at him, and one guy says, "Oh my God, he didn't say it in those exact words, but he says, oh my, he's just killing all of those zombies over there." He was like, he's doing it. They haven't died yet. And the other guy decides to go help because he see there's hope. Abraham, he brought hope to them. He did that to that group that he was with. And that's the reason why the other guy chose him to be the leader of that group. Because Abraham brought hope to that group. And I love when he was killing the zombies. I don't mean to repeat myself, but when he was killing them, he was smiling. Now remember in season 4, when he first met Tara and Glenn. I'm gonna read you the exact quotes. Now, when he first meet them, he killed zombies by an army truck. He started killing a lot of zombies that was by his truck. Tara said, "I've never seen that before." Abraham replies, "I seen you do the same thing." Tara said, "You smiled. You were smiling." And then Abraham replies, well, I am the most luckiest guy in the world." Now, when he says, "I am the most luckiest guy in the world," after Tara tells him that I never seen somebody smile when they was killing zombies, the reason why he says I'm the most luckiest guy in the world was because in season 4 he thought that they knew about a cure to bring man or to rebuild mankind again, so he was happy about that. That cure was his hope. and he was happy about that, and that's why he told her, well, I am the most luckiest guy in the world, because that cure, that was it for him. He was thinking in his head, once I get this cure and I reheal mankind again, I can redeem myself. But you noticed in season 5, when he found out about the cure, he loses hope. But in this episode, the sheer fact of him smiling again when he was killing zombies, but at the same time, him not having that same hope that he had for the cure, it was amazing, because this guy, in this scene, this was redemption. He got hope back. Like I said, in season 4, when he was killing those zombies, he said, or he thought it was a cure, so it was a reason for him to live. But in season 5, he know everything was a lie, in that and there isn't any cure. But the simple fact that he was smiling again while he was killing zombies, and he know that a cure doesn't exist, that show you that he felt like he redeemed himself. He was happy again. He don't care about a cure. He's happy. And that scene was just amazing. Great acting by Michael Cutlass. Love that scene. A genius. Thanks for that. I love that. Because before that, we saw Abraham going back to his old ways. When he had took his hand and put it on the back of the truck, we see a fog kind of come around him. And everything starts to look kind of a little blurry. Now, if you remember in the flashback, in the early episodes of season 4, when they showed his flashback, you could see him in the county market store, and you can see how everything don't look crystal clear. The screen don't look crystal clear. Everything look kind of blurry because it was a flashback. And you just see how it looked. And if you notice in this episode, you almost see Abraham go back to that same way he was, except this time, before he was able to even go farther in thinking about it, he heard his people shooting at zombies. So therefore, he took that negative energy and that rage that he had in him at that point, and he picked up a gun and he put all that rage out towards those zombies that was coming towards his people at that construction site. And like I said, I love that scene. And notice how he look up at the birds before he go to the truck and put his hand on the back of the truck. If you remember in the flashback, when he gets outside to look for his family, he looks in the air, but he don't hear anything. And then he takes a gun and he's about to commit suicide. But, like I just said, in this episode, you see him look in the air this time, and he see birds. And it's crazy. Also, I noticed something in this episode that was foreshadowed, but it happened to a different character. Remember when Carol was talking to Sam, when she found out Sam saw her stealing the guns? She told Sam, if you tell anybody I'm taking these guns, I'm going to take you outside of this community, tie you up to a tree, and you're going to scream until zombies hear you. They're going to come to you while you tied up on the tree and rip you apart and kill you. And then she also says you're going to scream, but ain't nobody going to be able to hear you, meaning human beings. The only people going to hear you is zombies. Now, notice with Aiden in his episode, notice when the grenade had exploded. Aiden was stuck on a piece of metal pipe or something. He was stuck and he couldn't move. Notice how what Carol said to Sam was similar to Aiden's situation. He was stuck on that metal pole. Glenn or Nick couldn't get him off, and they tried. And he was screaming, and he was causing zombies to come towards him because he was in so much pain. And by him screaming, the zombies heard him, but Noah was helped fighting some of them out. Notice how once the zombies got to Aiden, they ripped him apart. And all his insides start falling out. Just like Carol said that would happen to Sam if he told anybody about the guns when she tied him up to the tree. So that right there was the foreshadowing, except it didn't happen the way Carol told Sam it was going to happen, because Aiden had Glenn, Nick, and he also had Noah to try to help him a little bit to escape, although he didn't escape. But yeah, it was definitely foreshadowed, and what she said this time definitely happened to Aiden. Now talk about the Aiden death scene. I feel like it was a plot device because remember the zombies that was that was stuck and caged up and they couldn't get out. Once Aiden, because remember Aiden is reckless, and Glenn told him, wait till the zombie get closer. He has on body armor. You can't do anything to him when he has on body armor. But once he get closer, you can take your knife and stab him through the neck or stab him through his jaw or his upper jaw once he get closer. But Aiden was reckless and he decides to keep shooting the zombie until he shot a grenade and the grenade exploded. Now, my complaint with that scene was they took away the intensity of that scene because they cut to a commercial. And that's one of my biggest problems with The Walking Dead. When they cut to commercials, when they have a scene that's so intense going on, then they say, okay, let's cut to a commercial. That kills the intensity, the intensity of the scene. It kills it. And also, you would notice once Aiden had shot the zombie, and once Aiden had shot the zombie grenade and everything had blew up, notice how they cut to a commercial, as I just stated. Reason being, they didn't want to show the explosion because it would have cost them a lot of money to edit and make the explosion happen. So they didn't have the explosion really show because they cut to a commercial. Because if they would have had the explosion show and show how the explosion looked like, it would have cost the editors and producers a lot of money to make the explosion happen. So they cut to a commercial to be cheap. To be honest with you. Now, once Aiden is tied up, notice when Nick comes by, Nick tell him, he says, you left them, we both did. That's who we are. Now remember when Aiden was talking to Noah and Glenn and Tara when they first met each other and they were walking through the woods? Remember Aiden told him, last month we lost 4 men. But he didn't go in detail about it. Now, Nick confirmed it in this episode when he whispered to Aiden because Aiden told him to stay. Aiden got karma. It came back on him. It was karma. And he knew it, and so he accepted his fate. And when Nick told him, whispered in his ear, told him, you left them, we both did. That's who we are. You see, it was karma. And at the same time, remember dude at the construction site, he said that that's how the system works. We leave other people behind if we think we can't save them. Now, when Glenn was talking to Aiden, look what Aiden tell Glenn. He confesses that he left those 4 members behind that he was talking that he told Glenn about that had died when they were making their runs. He confessed to Glenn and he told them. He says, okay, it was. He was panicking. Then he says, it was us. It was others before. And he says, they didn't panic. We did. It was us. He was telling Glenn that the 4 members that we was with last month that we had lost, we started panicking when we saw zombies. We caused the zombies to come because we started panicking and we left them behind to die. So it's our fault why we lost those 4 members. And that scene right there was a symbolic meaning of Aiden showing that, okay, I was wrong for what I did, and now I'm ready to accept the consequences of what I did. And you see how Nick left him behind. You see what happened to Aiden. Got left behind. And he got eaten alive by zombies. It was karma. It came back on him. Now let's talk about Noah's scene. I hate this shit. I'm going to touch on it. Fuck it. I don't care. I'm tired of this token black guy. This token black guy in the group. It's getting fucking ridiculous, man. It's like, we just lost Tyrese, a black guy. We just lost another guy, another black guy, Noah. And don't nobody give a fuck about no Father Gabriel. And excuse me for my cursing, but I'm tired of the token black guy shit. We had it with T-Dog. We had it with Oscar. We had it with all of these black females in here. We had it with Bob. I'm tired of it. It's not cool, yo, man. We losing. I'm not just saying this because I'm black. Because if it was a white Caucasian male, I would say the same damn thing. Because I'm not racist. But I can't deal with this, man. Black guy after black guy. We can never keep one good, decent black guy are two good, decent black guys in the group without one of them dying and having just one decent one left. We can't have two at the same time. And I'm not talking about Gabriel because Gabriel is a fucking snitch. I'm sorry. Excuse my language, but I had to say that. I had to. Noah had plenty potential. He just got introduced to the series. He was starting a new beginning. That was a symbolic meaning behind that notebook. Him starting back over. In the way he just died, but the way he was died was very gruesome. I never seen that death. I seen a bad death in The Walking Dead, but the way these zombies tore him apart, that was ridiculous. And you saw it in Noah's eyes. He knew it was over. The way he was looking at Glenn through that window, through that glass. He looked at Glenn with the expression on his face like, I know it's over. And before he died, when he got his leg pulled by the zombies, he told Glenn, don't let go. He didn't mean don't let me go. He meant mentally, don't let go of who you are, who you became. You are still good. Don't let go. And that's what he meant by that. And when the zombies started tearing him apart, it was like when you put food into a see-through blender. And you can see through that blender. And once you put the top on that blender, you see the food just in the blender at first. Everything like a tomato is whole, everything. But once that blade starts chopping up that tomato, you just start seeing red splatter marks all in the blender, all through the see-through blender. It's just red splatter marks everywhere. You can see it in there. That was the same thing with Noah death. It was like he was in a blender and the blade just started spinning and tearing him apart. And you can see how the blood was just splattering on the glass. It's just, man, the death was gruesome. And Noah had a lot to offer. And I'm sorry for my cursing, but, man, I had to say that. And when Nick left Noah there for dead, it was foreshadowing. Nick had already said if anything go down, he was leaving out the front door because he said it when it was outside talking outside of the building when they was getting their weapons ready. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what he said. He says, I already got one. They was talking about having a escape route. He says, I already got one. It's called going out the front. See, foreshadowing. He went straight out the front door, but except we lost Noah. Now it's time to wrap this review up. You see Rick and you see Pete talking. In the way that Rick and Pete was looking at each other, you can tell the symbolic meaning behind that scene. It was like almost two boxers facing off at each other when they do promotion. You see the boxers look. You see the boxers looking at each other's face, or a UFC fighter looking at each other's faces, and people taking pictures. That right there was a face off. It was letting you know that was foreshadowing a fight between Rick and Pete, pretty much. And Eugene, man. Eugene was iconic in this episode. Great acting. I love Josh McDermott acting. And I love how he brought more life to Eugene in this episode. And made him not be that burden to the group. Eugene is the fucking man. Now Eugene has stepped up and now Eugene is carrying his own weight. And I love the chemistry between him and Tara because the chemistry they have is just untouchable. Tara was there for him. She never told anybody about his secret that he kept about Washington, D.C., about him lying about it. And that's why he was there for Tara in this episode. And he put his life on the line to protect her. Eugene straight became a G in this episode. He even helped Glenn and Nick out by pulling in the front of the building, singing, had dubstep music going on. Loved Eugene in this episode. And you see Rick pulling off his wedding ring. He's been wearing that wedding ring for a long time. Even after Lori died, he still had that wedding ring. And now Rick is realizing that that's the past and it's time to let that go. And I got to let that die. And he's taking off the wedding ring now. And you definitely see that. And you see how Carol has met Sam, and Sam has thrown hints about Pete beating on him and his mama. And Carol knows it because Carol is a abuse victim by Pete. She used to get beat by Pete. Pete never beat Sophia though. The way he looked at her, she didn't like because the way he looked at her was a rapist look, or he wanted to. I can't get it out right now, but It was sick, and she didn't like the way Pete looked at him. But Carol is a abused victim, and she know when somebody is being abused. And like I said, her husband Ed used to abuse her, and she know what was going on with Sam. At the end of the episode, you see her tell Rick that, Rick, you're going to have to kill Pete. And she was going strictly off emotions. That's my problem, though, with that scene. She was going off of emotions. She didn't think of another alternative to do this. You probably didn't have to kill him or don't have to kill him, but she's going off of emotions because she went through that already. And she already said she already said in the later episodes or later couple of seasons down, she said that if I had a monster that I had not, Ed would have never did that to me. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed my review. God bless you all. And when Noah had that notebook, like I said, and when you found that notebook, it says a new beginning. It was time for a new beginning for him, and he never made it to that. And it's just crazy because Glenn, then he was on a run with Glenn too. That was Glenn run. That was his supply run, and he died on Glenn run. How crazy is that? And Glenn's gonna feel a lot of guilt for that because he allowed Noah to come with him. That was Glenn Kyle, and he allowed it. So have a blessed day. God bless you all. Please remember to share and thumbs up the video and leave your comments in the comment section down below. And thank you for watching, and peace.